hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and welcome to today's episode of The Hypnotist. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be your hypnotist today. I'm actually blessed to have a guest hypnotist, Rich Guzzi. Welcome to the show.
Adam, how's it going, my man?
Really good indeed, really good. So, Rich, you are a bit of a legend in the hypnosis world, but I'm curious because I don't actually know how you started out as a hypnotist and how you got to your kind of such acclaimed levels of kind of I would say status and kind of influence within the industry. So tell us, how did it all begin for you?
I was a regular comedian first. So I would just do stand-up comedy shows around the country, and I was doing okay. And I was a headliner, but not a big name. I'm playing this club in New Jersey, and I was living on Long Island. So you leave way early because there's a traffic situation. If you get there late, you miss the gig. So you always leave super early. So you get there early, and I grab something to eat before the show starts because you get there early a lot of times. So I'm talking with the club manager, this lady, Sandy DePerna. We were friends for a long time. And she says, "Rich, how you doing?" I'm like, okay. We're just chatting it up. She says, "Hey, did you hear Otto and George on the Howard Stern show this morning?" Now, Otto and George was this dirty puppet act. It was a really filthy puppet. And I had watched, listened to the show that morning, and I said, yeah, he went out of control. She says, yeah, Ed Rodriguez, who was the owner of Rascal, says, yeah, I had to fire Otto and George because he was putting, he was very racist. There was a racist puppet, by the way. It was a very racist puppet. So I had to fire Otto and George. His manager's with him, this guy, Joe Miller. He goes, I had to fire all Joe Miller's acts. So I even had to fire poor Denny Moore, the hypnotist. So I got to find another hypnotist. And I was just joking around. All I said was, well, I can do the hypnotizing show for you. She goes, you can do the hypnotizing show? I said, yeah. I do the psychic guy. I can do the hypnotizing thing. I used to do this psychic bit in my act. Remember John Edwards, the psychic guy, where he would do the crossing over and talk to the dead people? I used to do a mock psychic bit in my comedy act. I said, yeah, I do the psychic thing. Hypnotizing is the same thing. She goes, okay. Takes me in the back, opens the book up. She says, there's the week. I said, I got the week open, and it pays 3 times the money I would normally make. I guess the hypnotizing guy made a lot of money. So I'm like, okay, I'll take the gig. I drove home that night back to Long Island saying, well, better learn how to do the hypnotizing show because I knew nothing about hypnosis. So I buy this book, and I'm reading the book, and I'm like, man, this is all nonsense. I'm in big trouble here. I'm in big trouble. So now I'm practicing all the stuff from the book. After my regular comedy shows, I'm hypnotizing people at the bar, trying to practice all this stuff. And I'm like, meanwhile, I have 6 weeks to prepare, by the way. And if this thing goes bad, it's going to be really bad because it's a big venue and it's a lot of notoriety here. So I have to do a practice show and figure out, I got to get all these pieces of the puzzle to work. So I do a practice show in a place where if it goes belly up, nobody's going to find out about it. Like never work in Muskegon, Michigan ever again, that type of situation. So the guy ends up selling $5 tickets for the show. And there's like 300 people there. I do the first show and it actually worked. I'm like, oh my God, this is real. I actually hypnotize people. This is incredible. I did a second show in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So I have 2 under my belt now. Rascals comes along 6 weeks later. So I'm like, okay, who shows up the first night? Denny Moore, the hypnotist, and his manager. So I'm like, wow. So now, and listen, I look back in retrospect, it's a smart move because they figure I stink up the stage. They save the day, get their gig back. It makes sense. So, but now I'm nervous. I'm never nervous on stage. But now I'm like, these guys know what they're doing. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, here's the plan. I'm still a great comedian. I'm going to do 15 minutes of my best material, warm the crowd up, get them laughing hard, bring as many people on stage as possible to hypnotize. Whoever gets hypnotized, that's the show. All right, good. That's exactly what I do. 15 minutes, I hit the crowd hard. I bring like 20 people on stage. We're all sitting all over each other. 4 people end up getting hypnotized out of 20. But they were 4 good ones. It was a numbers game. And that was enough to do the show. They left the middle of the show. They said, he's got it. And my confidence grew. I did 7 shows that week at the venue. She hands me a check for $3,000. I had never gotten paid $3,000 before to do a gig. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. I just thought I went home back to Long Island on Monday. When I go to the bank, I cashed a check, and I'm like, I just figured I dodged a bullet. Like, all right, I got
Mm.
out of this. But here's the weird thing that happened. The phone starts ringing. Hey, man, I heard you do the hypnotizing show. Hey, I heard you do the hypnotizing. And all of a sudden, I went from being like an older comic to being a young hypnotist. I
Mm.
started getting more gigs as the hypnotizing guy, which paid a lot more money. And then I fell to the dark side. Why am I going to take, a $500 or $1,000 comedy gig when I could take a $3,000 hypnosis gig? And a year later, there was no comedy gigs on my schedule and only hypnosis gigs. And I became, the hypnotist in the comedy clubs. Then 2000 came along, Y2K. And the whole market's down. Then you had Y2K. Nobody knew who the president was. 9/11 happened back to back to back. And the economy is in the toilet. So now, strategic move. I went to all the comedy clubs and I said, hey, how about we do no guarantee and I'll take 75% of the door? And they all took it because there was no risk involved for them.
Mm.
If they have a risk for another guy and they would, nobody showed up, they would have to pay a guy a $20,000 guarantee, they'd get killed. So I said, I'll take no guarantee, no guarantee. Whoever walks through the door and pays, I'm taking 75% of the gate. They all took it. And I cornered everybody else out of the market. And I became the only comedian working the comedy clubs. And that was it. The rest is history. It just built, built, built. And then the numbers grew because the show was a good show because I already had the comedy chops. So I was a comedian doing hypnosis instead of a hypnotist doing comedy. And the show really exploded. But then it went to a whole nother level. I'm working in El Paso, Texas. And after the show, I would actually put my phone number on my website. I still do it. And people say, oh man, aren't people like, call you like crazy? So I said, actually, no, nobody abuses it. They just only call when they need you. This lady calls up in like the middle of the night. She says, I don't know what you did to my husband. He was on your show tonight. And he came back from the war and he's got these night tremors and stuff. He can't even sleep in the bed with me because he's scared he's going to kill me or something in the middle of the night. But now, after your show, he's fixed.
Mm.
I got my husband back. My kids got their dad back. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And that happened just because I would do this good energy stuff at the end of the show when I took him out of hypnosis. And I'm like, man, people's lives are getting changed from this dopey comedy show I'm doing. So I started adding more of the self-help stuff to the show, made it like an inspirational comedy show, and bang, then things really took off. And
Mm.
that was it. 300 shows a year for 30 years in a row.
And I imagine doing that amount of hypnosis, like your confidence must have, already was high from being a comedian, but just got more and more because you just kind of, what to look for in terms of a good subject, all the get outs if things aren't going, just doing it so much must give you such resilience and confidence to handle anything.
It's funny you say that because that's really the key to the game. If you want to be good at hypnosis, that confidence level better be high
Mm.
because a lot of hypnotists have even the clinical ones. They have a client comes in and they know how to recognize a tough client. They know it. And all of a sudden they're like, man, what happens if this guy doesn't get deeply hypnotized? What's going to happen? And they had that stigma, their own stigma attached to hypnosis as well. What's going to happen now? And as a stage hypnotist, it's even worse because, man, if that show goes bad, everybody's asking for their money back. The venues all nobody wants to see that happen,
Mhm.
but it happens a lot. And those you're spinning all the plates at the same time. You have to be able to think on your feet, and you have to analyze every detail what's going on. I call it data mining. You're literally data mining from the time you walk into the building to do that show to the time you leave. You're always map mining for data, and you're looking for every edge. It's like a blackjack player, counting cards, looking for every little statistical edge on how the show is going to be that much better. And when you find something that really works, like why did that happen like that? And I'll go back to the video. I always tell people videotape every show, every session you do, videotape it. Because when something really good happens, why did that just happen? And let's see if we can recreate that all the time. And then when something bad happens, hey, we don't want that to happen anymore. Let's find out why it happened so we make sure that doesn't happen any longer. That's a very simple success formula. When something is good, keep doing that. When something's no good, don't do that no more. You know,
Yeah, double
but
down on what works and mitigate the risks. And I remember there was I think it was a Wimbledon where Serena Williams won every single match, and I think she didn't even lose a set. And they asked her what she was going to do after winning, thinking like, "Oh, celebrate." And she said, "I'm going to watch the videos of every unforced error." That's a champion mindset when you're kind of always looking for a kind of a way to kind of improve it, and that's that kind of
yep,
commitment. And everyone's thinking she doesn't need to do that; she's already the best. But that's what keeps someone good is kind of focusing on kind of how to get even better.
exactly. She's a champion for a reason. She's going to stay the champion because she's willing to outwork the rest of the people who are not doing it. And she's got natural ability. And then when that natural ability links up with the hard work, you got a Kobe Bryant. You got Magic Johnson. You got all these great athletes, great performers. Great artists because they're willing to put in the effort. And yes, they have a God-given talent a lot of times, but a lot of times it's learned and procured because they have passion for it. So they're saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this because I want to do this. I want to make it happen. So my brother is a great ballroom dancer, but he didn't have a natural talent for it, but he saw it and it looked elegant. And he said, man, I want to be this guy. And he became a great champion ballroom dancer because he put the effort in to make it happen.
Mm.
And that's what it takes. I tell people, especially in the hypnosis community, the hypnosis world, um, if you do a poor or fair show, it goes like this after the show. Dude, I don't even want to pay you for that. That was ridiculous. All right, hey, here's your money. They begrudgingly pay you, right? A good show means, all right, what do I owe you? $1,000. Okay, here you go, 1,000. Hey, Joe, you got those numbers? And he's already moving on to his business. That's a good show.
Hmm.
Then a great show is like, oh my God, Adam, that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. But I have to ask you, was that guy really hypnotized? That big fat guy in the end? Yeah, it was. Wow, that's amazing. You know what? Here's your money. All right. Let's book this in again right away because I think this is incredible. That's a great show. And then there's excellence. Excellence goes like this. Whoa. You know what? Get your calendar. I want to book this in right now. I want to do it 3 times a year. Do it 3 times a year. You like steak? You like lobster? Tell you, hey, Mike, get Rich a steak of lobster, right? Get his girlfriend too. Take care of that, right? All right, man, that was a mate. And that's excellence.
Mm.
And that's the Serena Williams that we're looking for. We're looking for that excellence where once you do a gig, you do a session or whatever, they become ambassadors. And that's what hypnosis needs more of. We need ambassadors because there's still such a here we are 2025, almost 2026 at this point. Hypnosis got this massive stigma attached to it, even in very outgoing states and parts of the world and country, where people are spiritual. It's still got a I used to live in California, Santa Monica, where those people are really into it, and there was still a massive stigma out there. And hypnosis is almost like a black art; nobody understands it. So we have to show excellence and create ambassadors with every person we come in contact with to show that we have the greatest product in the world. We have the greatest way to make people's lives better. And if we do that, man, we have the keys to the kingdom. If this gets on the map, and that's the mission of hypnosisworld.com, is to put hypnosis on the map where when you walk down the street, every person knows what hypnosis is.
Mm.
Because if you go to the mall and you ask 1,000 people, tell me everything you know about a hypnosis, they don't know anything.
There's a lot of misconceptions, and it's
Yeah.
weird that the misconceptions are for many people the first thing that comes to the mind. Oh, it's under the control of someone. I'm going
Yes.
to completely, I'm going to be told to do something I don't want to do, or and those kind of things. But I would say, and this is the thing, when I was training to be a hypnotherapist, my teacher said that stage hypnotists are not good for hypnotherapy because it propagates some of those misconceptions.
Yep.
But my thought was the opposite, and that is that how a lot of people become curious about hypnosis is because they see a stage show and they're like, well, if that person there that I know is doing those crazy things, then this is a powerful thing, and I want to learn more about it. What would you say to those people that feel that stage is kind of like bad for hypnotherapy.
Yeah, I know. I've heard the same thing, and that's a real shame. There was for 75 years, organizations would hold the hypnosis industry back. It was the good old boy club.
Hmm.
And stage hypnosis was like they were like the heretic because they wanted to keep control of the masses and say, hey, no, 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 we're going to do it like this. But meanwhile, and again, I don't like a bad stage hypnosis show either, because I think it hurts the industry as well. But when done properly, it really is the first line of what the general public at large sees because it's non-threatening. So, hey, let me hypnotize you to quit smoking or lose weight. Oh man, I don't know, man. I'm giving up control of my mind. Da, 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 da. Yeah, all the stigmas attached. Hey, let's go to a hypnosis show. You're gonna see Joe on stage do some wacky stuff. All right. So you get introduced because hey, let's have some fun.
Mm.
But for me, it's all about the transformation. When I watch the audience shift, and it happens usually about a third of the way through the show, because I'm adding little interjections throughout the entire show that are proving to the audience that this is something real that you can make your life better with. And you can see them like this. Wait a minute, you see what he's doing there? Wow, this is interesting because now, like I said, they were scared on a roller coaster, and there's people that they're terrified. Then after that bit is over, you were so brave to go on that ride. Remember, every time you conquer a fear in your life, you become stronger in every other area of your life. Today you conquered a huge fear, you became stronger and stronger, your life becomes better and better. Good job, deep asleep. And the audience is like, whoa, you see what just happened there?
Powerful suggestion it was.
And they have now been transformed into, man, hypnosis is actually something that we could use to make our life better here. This is pretty
Mm.
interesting. And by the end of the show, a good hypnosis show should have transported that audience to the point where they're like, wow, I'm going to start using this in my everyday life now. All right, this was more than fun and games. Yeah, I had a great time. Yeah, Mike, man, you did some funny stuff. You remember any of this? I don't remember any of it. Fantastic, you had a great time. But now, let's make our life better. And every single person on the planet needs a hypnotist. Everybody. There's not one person who doesn't. So if the world was known to this stuff, they understood it, bang, everybody be using it. So when somebody says that, yeah, stage hypnosis is bad, yeah, you know what? In the wrong hands, it is bad. But in the right hands, when taught properly, and I'm not saying every clinical hypnotist should do a show. However, let's say you did one hypno demo show type situation. I can guarantee you without a shadow of a doubt, your skill level as a hypnotist will go up dramatically.
Hmm.
There's not even a question because you will be under fire to make sure that this happens properly. You're going to get these subjects deep. Otherwise, you're going to look like a dummy. Because the audience, I always tell people, the audience does the work for you. There's 10 people on the stage. If there's one person who's not a 6 or less, on the Esdale scale, 6 is like you can hallucinate negative. But I tell the hypnotist, there's levels below 6. I
Hmm.
fractionate the subjects. They're actually below that. You can tell them anything and they're going to follow the directions. But if you have a 4 or 5 on the stage, the audience is like this. That guy's faking. That guy. And as a professional hypnotist, we know he's really hypnotized, but he's not good enough for a show.
Yeah.
And the same exact thing with hypnosis in the clinical setting. If you have a subject who's a 3 or 4 in that area, right? That I call limbo land. Yeah, hypnotize, yeah. And can you get the work done? Absolutely. But a lot of times that subject goes home and says, man, that hypnosis was a crock. You know what? I went to the gym myself. I just went to started eating the right foods. I lost the weight on my own. Meanwhile, we know that's not what happened. The hypnotist actually did his job or her job, but the subject doesn't believe it because they
Mm.
were 3 or 4 in that area. Where if they were a 5 or 6 or below, when they wake up, they're like this. You got the tingling hands and the feet, and they're like, "Whoa, man, what just happened? Yeah, what happened?" And you show them a video of them laughing uncontrollably. They don't remember it, and they're like, "Oh man, that's me! Holy mackerel!
Mm.
Wow!" And all of a sudden, now they were really out. Now you have the magic. You have what I call the wow factor, and that's what the general public in the beginning needs. You need wow factor. So If you do a show, not even a full-blown show, but you do some type of performance demonstration of hypnosis, your skill level will rise. B, what about the promotional aspect of it? People say, well, man, how do you make so much money in this business? Well, I can tell you, it's because I did 10,000 shows. I hypnotized over 1 million people. And those people were experiencing what I did, and that's advertising. When you do a show, that's hypnosis advertising. And if you do a show even once a month, that's you're getting paid to advertise at this point now.
Mm.
So it's a good thing, but only done properly. So if you want to do a stage show, you want to do a stage performance, you want to do a clinical, I call them like corporate presentations and stuff. Those are all the performances. That's why the name of my book is Performing Hypnosis, because you're performing for either one person in a clinical setting or 1,000 people on a cruise ship, right? It's still a performance. And that performance level that you can put out there is going to make all the difference in the wow factor. Because again, right now, until hypnosis gets put on the map where everybody understands it, you got to give them the zombies, because that's what they see on TV and the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Got to give them the wow. And when that wow happens, though, you now have excellence, and now you have word of mouth. You have everything you want. You have hypnosis ambassadors. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Because the
yeah.
hypnosis experience itself becomes the convincer as to how powerful it is, because they're either experiencing it or they're witnessing it. And I've always thought that a great stage hypnotist can make the transition to hypnotherapy much easier than a hypnotherapist becoming a stage hypnotist, because as you said, there's lots more moving parts. You have to kind of deliver, and all of those things. Whereas a hypnotherapist, if they've got that person in the room and it's not really a deep experience, then they can just say, oh, but it was still hypnosis, but all our eyes are on you on the stage. And I found that when it was similar to you in the sense that I volunteered for something without the actual skill set. So there was a lady I met she wanted this kind of phobia course. She wanted a hypnotist to come along and cure arachnophobes in a single session. And I said, I'll do that. Never did one phobia client at all.
Right.
So there I am on my first day, and there's like a room full of 20 people, lifelong arachnophobes, terrified. And then at the end, they're holding like tarantulas and spiders and all that kind of stuff. But the confidence it gives you working with a room and actually seeing the results in real time, you can't get that if you're just one-on-one with a therapy clients. It's almost like training at altitude. And when you go back to one-to-one clients, you feel like a almost enhanced skill. You feel like a superpower.
Yeah, there's no question about it. It's funny you say that, because you're and again, that's why you're successful. You put yourself into the game, and you don't even know how to play the game yet. You're like, okay, but I'm going to do this now, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out. That's the thing.
And that's what makes you strong, because you'll figure it out. And successful people rise to the occasion. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Okay, let's go. Let's get to work here.
Mm.
And then the great thing is, once you learn specific techniques on how to do the group setting, it actually becomes easier. I would much rather do a group setting of subjects than if you had to hypnotize one tough subject.
Fair. Yeah.
So one tough subject requires you to be on your game big time. So let's say you have one, because you got the bell curve, right? So there's 100 people in the room, 10 are really good, 10 stink. And then 10 are really close, 10 are other close on this side. So let's say you get one of those guys who was really tough, The Rock, and he's just one-on-one. You got to be on your game big time.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say I have this Rock, but he's with 5 other people who are just, say, neutral. I can get The Rock a lot easier, because I could transfer energy from the regular ones to him and get them out, right? So I'll pick off the wounded wildebeest first, and then start moving on. Then once they see what's happening, like, oh, wait, look at the way that guy went out of it. All of a sudden, bang, you get him too.
Mm.
So it's way easier when in the group setting, once you understand the skill sets that are needed. That
Because
one-on-one
there's
subject
much
is the
more.
hardest thing in hypnosis.
Yeah, because there's much more kind of psychological principles than just hypnosis. Because you've got expectations, social proof, compliance. The egos. They want to have a good time. They don't want to. They don't want to be the one that kind of gets funneled off the stage. So you've got many different kind of psychological levers that you can kind of utilize to kind of get the most in. You must feel like a conductor in an orchestra. You've got the kind of the musicians, and your job is to kind of get the most out of those. On the stage.
As I use the exact same thing. You're the conductor. It's very interesting you say that because yeah, very astute because that's exactly what it is. You're a conductor of the symphony. These are all the members in the band, and I got to get the band playing beautiful music. This is the group that was given today. There's 100, 200, 300 people in the audience. This is the group I was given. I have to turn that group into magnificence.
So you're putting on a conference close to Chicago, Mid America Conference, October the 16th, I think it starts, or
Yes.
17th.
Yep.
Tell us why, because you've achieved a lot in lots of different areas. Why take on a conference, and why, because there's lots of moving parts in organizing a conference. What led you to kind of take on this?
My buddy Richard Nongard had this conference, and it was dying on the vine. And he said, "You want to take this thing over?" So I said, "I'm going to take this thing over because this shouldn't go away. It's been here for 40 years, and there's a lot of good people attached to this thing,
Mhm.
and I don't want to see this go away. We need um, good people out there. So I said, this is also a way for hypnosis world to really get more of the word out because now I'll have control and do it the way I want to do it because I've seen other conferences and I see what they do right. I see what they do wrong. And I'm like, I have some new ideas for this. So that's what we did. We took it and we said, all right, what do we got to do to make this thing really amazing? So I said, first, foremost, we need some big headliners.
Mhm.
So that's what I did. I said, listen, there's always great speakers and coaches and trainers, practitioners at the conferences, but I wanted to go above and beyond that. So I wanted to get like real heavy hitters that would normally never be in a conference. So that was step number one. So we accomplished that. Then I said, um, going to, like a hypnosis conference, almost like summer camp for hypnotists. People like to see the people they don't get to see all the time. So it's got to be fun too. I want people to learn, but it's got to be fun. And because I like to have fun, it's all about the experience, the having a good time. So I took some of the stuff from say the comedy hypnosis show and putting on events like that and added it to our conference. Like we have
Mhm.
a game show, we have a hypnosis game show on Friday night, and all the questions are hypnosis themed, and they're loaded obviously because I wrote them as like a comedian. I wrote them. It's like when you give the answers, they're going to be like kind of funny and tricky, obviously.
Mhm.
Sometimes very naughty, actually. um, but we do that on Friday. On Saturday we have the giant gala, and we have like sitting with the stars. Because we have all the dignitaries are going to be there, and now we have basically a red carpet event. So it's going to be just like if you went to the Academy Awards, it'd be just like that. We want to have that level of enthusiasm. We have a photo booth. You take photos with the stars. We have somebody taking headshots. Because people want to have professional shots done for their website or for their promotional materials. We got that coming in. We're shooting a movie documentary. All about the past, present, and future of hypnosis. We want to blow this thing up, and then we close it all out on Sunday, um, where all the attendees are in one giant room. So we open the conference that way, where everybody's focusing on one thing. And here's what the conference we set the stage. Then we do the breakout rooms, all the different trainers. And then at the end, we have the big guns coming out, one, two, three, at the end of the event. And then we have a pool party after that. So, and we have giant prizes. I said, you know what? Yes, people give away books and a couple little doodads. I want to go above and beyond that too. Let's give away real prizes. So I got a $25,000 prize and I got a $10,000 prize that we can be giving away at the pool party to give incentive to stay to the end.
Mhm.
A lot of times you go to a conference, at the end, half the people are gone.
Kind of dwindles. Yeah.
It dwindles down. And I'm like, this is no good. I want to make sure that this is an event that people are going to stay all the way through. And hypnosis is near and dear to my heart. It really is. I mean, I'm 30 plus years doing this. Um, I have zero regrets because it's changed my life in a good way. I know I've changed millions of other lives out there, people who've witnessed what we've done. Now, Hypnosis World is going to be the catalyst to get the younger practitioners and the older practitioners as well, but to bring this forward now for the next century, for the next 100 years, and this conference builds upon that. So every year we have an event that all the people from Hypnosis World can go to and meet and share our stories, share our knowledge, and it kind of adds that extra component to the puzzle that puts hypnosis on the map. And I specifically went after a lot of new practitioners because I want to get them trained up properly by mingling with the bigger people, saying, here's the way to do professional hypnosis. Here's the way how to really accelerate your practice. Don't believe the stuff you've been told, from the old groups. Don't believe any of that stuff. You can go out and you can have fun and you can help people, and it's not a sin to get paid for your work. A lot of people feel guilty about being paid to do hypnosis on people. And that hurts the business because if you can't collect money for your skills and talents, you're creating a lesser impact. I tell people money is an impact tool. You can create a larger impact when you have funds to get the awareness out there for yourself. Hey, I can help people do this, that, and the other thing. Here's how I can do it. And you got the funding now to make that happen. So don't feel guilty about getting paid to do something amazing.
You're right. A lot of hypnotherapists do feel guilty. And my belief is that, how much money you make is a reflection of the value you create for the world. So if you're creating a lot of value for the world, money is just a side effect of that. It doesn't mean you're greedy. It doesn't mean you're, anything. It's just means you're doing something right.
It really is. So this conference was the last component that we needed to add that piece of the puzzle. So we wanted, I have a lot of people in my regular elite family. I call it the family. My email address is thefamily@richguzzi.com. It's kind of like I'm like Don Corleone. I like, I'm that guy. But I treat everybody like my family members. So we have a lot of elite members, and those elite members want to have a place where we could all get together at one time. And that is, again, we're doing that actually. We do it every Monday after a conference. All our elite members always meet on the Monday. I take everybody out for dinner. We have the big family dinner, and it's a great time. So this conference actually gives us the ability to do that even more and meet on a regular basis. At least once a year, we're definitely all getting together. So that's
you mentioned
again,
those.
That's the reason for it.
You mentioned those two heavy hitters that you've got at the conference, and Richard Bandler was one of my inspirations for becoming a hypnotist. I think he's a bit crazy, a bit of a maverick, but an absolute genius. Such a I do talks on nested loops. For me, he's the expert on nested loops. Such a master. And you've got Chase Hughes as well. Tell us a little bit about what they're going to be doing at the conference.
So when I first thought about the heavy hitters, I said, I got to get headliners here. I got to get big names. And again, not taking away from the other practitioners because they're all amazing. But we needed to get those headline names where people said, oh my God, wait a minute, Richard Bandler is coming? And I really literally went down the list. And top of my list was, I said, wait a minute, Richard Bandler, that's the guy I got to get. I got to get Richard Bandler. And man, it took 3 months to get him. It wasn't easy. I'm like, man, I thought it was easy. Make a phone call. Hey, man, way to come to the conference. It wasn't like that at all. It took 3 months to make it happen. But we made it happen. His people are awesome, and he's awesome. So when we closed the deal, he said, I'm doing an event in Orlando. Why don't you come hang out for free? We get to hang out and talk a little bit, get to kind of break the ice and get the ball rolling. So I'm like, man, free Richard Bandler training? Of course, I'm going. All right. It was all week. And I went. Now, again, I've been doing this a long time. And I feel I'm a great hypnotist, especially when it comes to one-on-ones. All right. In even like any scenario, I can knock people out. So, and I always thought that NLP was, right, it's okay, but you know what? You do that to a sophisticated individual, it's not going to work all that good.
Hmm.
But then all of a sudden, I saw this guy. I went to Richard Bandler's training, and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't even the same product. This isn't what other people teaching at all. This is so far above and beyond what I thought NLP was. Because I saw him do things that were off the charts amazing, that were blowing me away. So I do an energy transfer technique. I show people how you can do digital downloads on people, and this guy's doing it to the 10th power.
Mm.
It's what I saw was like no short of wizardry. Like Harry Potter's got nothing on this guy.
Hmm.
It was incredible. And I'm like, man, this is incredible. We got this man, the co-creator of NLP, but the guy at our conference with this level of skill. This needs to be out there. This skill needs to be shown to other practitioners. And I'm telling you, if you've never seen this before, you have to see this because I was blown away. And I'm a New Yorker. We're skeptical people. We're always like this. All New Yorkers descend to pigeons. They're like, hey, you know that guy? Yeah, it's that guy. I know that guy. Yeah. So, but when I saw this needs to be out there. This training needs to be out there. So thank God we got him. Now Chase is my buddy. I remember Chase when he came to my comedy show in Virginia Beach. It was interesting because his first date with his now wife was my comedy show, was my show.
Mm.
And there was something about him. He hands me his card, and people hand me cards every day in the comedy club. But this guy was something special. And I actually called the card. I called them, and we started chatting on the phone. And I'm like, this guy is going to be somebody for sure. He was still in the Navy at the time. And I said, and we became friends immediately. He sent me a copy of his book, The Ellipsis Manual, the original book. And it was interesting when I read the book, I'm like, this is the exact material I was going to write myself. I was going to write this exact book, but I was going to do a funny version of it, a comedy version of it. And I'm like, thank God I didn't, because it would have been nothing compared. This is the right way it should have been written.
Mm.
Exact material, but done the proper way, where I would have joked it up a little bit too much and it wouldn't have been the same, wouldn't have been as good. So thank God I saw that, I read the book. And then he says, what am I gonna do after I get out of the Navy? I says, I got you. Don't worry about it. And then we started doing trainings together. And next thing you know, man, Chase blew up. He's huge. Because he's got it. He's got what it takes. He's got knowledge, he's got the look, he's got the determination, he's got the work ethic, and he's got the pedigree. So there's nothing he does not have. And that's why, again, he's a big star as well. So again, that was an easy one. I made the phone call, Chase, do me a favor, come to my event. I want to blow this up. He goes, yes, no problem. And he's actually making a tough flight. He's flying from Hawaii to come to the event. He's making the effort, but he's a top-notch guy. I've had some celebrity friends in the past, and after they became really big, they changed their phone number. You never hear from ever again.
Mm.
And this guy is not that. This guy is a true friend, and he has been my buddy from start to finish. And he literally will give me the shirt off his back. That's how good of a friend this guy is. As no matter how big he gets, if I call him on the phone, he's answering the phone. If I need something, he'll call me back, and that's a real friend. Because he doesn't need anything from me anymore. He's huge.
Mm.
He's still my friend. So that's the mark right there. He's really he's top flight, and the material he's got is off the charts as well. The stuff he can train you is like, again, it's masterful. The materials that he has are about human excellence and how to persuade and influence and be that person of influence yourself is bar none amongst the best I've ever seen.
No, I've seen Richard Bandler several times and Chase Hughes once before, and they're both, some of the best, out there. So you've got some excellent headliners there. And it seems like you got loads of like fun activities going on as well. So if people are curious about this, because I appreciate it's only about kind of 4 weeks away, where can people go? And I'll make sure I put a link in the show notes so people can actually kind of click that. But is there a website for them to go to find out more information?
Yes, it's hypnosisconference.org. Hypnosisconference.org. Easiest way to get there. You click on it, and it's got every detail of what's going on and then some. We got a crazy deal on the hotel, the official hotel that we're all going to be staying at. I basically bought out the entire hotel. I said, we're going to take over the entire building. We're taking over all the restaurants. We're taking over the whole thing. It's going to be our party. And hypnosisworld.com, my hypnosis website has everything on there as well. So you go to hypnosisworld.com or hypnosisconference.org. You'll get everything you need. And this will be the event of the century. We're pulling all the stops out.
Amazing. And I'm not quite as high profile as Richard Bandler and Chase Hughes or yourself, but I will be there as well. So if you,
Oh no,
if you
listen,
want to,
you let me tell you something. You were a great get. You know, again, not putting anything past all the other presenters, because we have 100 additional amazing presenters, and there's no stiffs in the lineup. I went down that line and curated that entire thing myself. And my girlfriend is a real stickler when it comes to this stuff. She doesn't want any stiffs. So, yes,
no,
you were a great get. When we said, wait a minute, this guy applied? Yeah. Oh man, you got to have him. But make sure you get some
Claudia nudged me to do it. Claudia Rickard, she
Yeah.
she asked me to kind of apply.
I love her. She's one of my black belts. Yeah, she's one of the black belts in our elite family.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. So the website will be in the show notes. Check that out if you're listening or watching on YouTube. I'm going to be there. Richard Ballin's going to be there. Rich Guzzi is going to be there. Chase Hughes and lots of other people as well. It's going to be a really fun time. So check that out. Rich, thank you so much for being a guest hypnotist today.
Adam, you are top notch. Again, that's why you deserve everything you get, because you do a top notch job. You look the part. You feel the part. You're helping people. That's all that matters, man. Just put it out there. Show excellence every day.
Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. And if you've enjoyed this show or got some benefit from it, you may know of one other friend or family member that may also benefit from this hypnosis session, in which case I'd like to ask a favor of you. And that is, if you could spend 10 seconds to share this episode with someone that you know that may also benefit, that would really help me to access new people that don't already know about this show. Thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again on the next episode.